Hello and welcome for the second day in a row to Nogaro at the Coupe de Pâques, the Easter Cups event here at the famous Nogaro circuit. A long-standing tradition in French motorsport. No better place to begin the 2023 Clio Cup Series. Points being scored this weekend for both the French and Spanish Clio Cup Regional or National Series. So plenty of title hopefuls here in this grid from the French Championship and indeed the Spanish Championship as well. And plenty of interesting stories coming into this second race. David Pouget, for the second race in a row, is your pole sitter. If you were watching yesterday, you'll remember that he won the race on the road. However, a 5-second track limits time penalty was applied to his race time, and he dropped to third position in the final standings. That meant that Nicolas Mélin, the 15-time Clio champion, the reigning Clio Cup France champion, took the race win in the final classification. But for today's race, Pouget starts on pole position again. Nicolas Mélin, with a bad qualifying, he starts all the way down in 6th position. So you can rely on that number 5 car in the Castrol colours to be one to watch. It's a highly successful day thus far for GPA Racing, with 3 of their cars filling the top 3 spots in this race. Yesterday's Challengers Cup winner, Alexandre Finkelstein, he starts from 4th on today's grid. And Jeremy Bordegaray, who also took a win in class in the Racers Cup last time out yesterday, he is starting all the way up in 10th position as the first of the drivers from Racer Cup, so we can expect him to be a contender within that category. The Challengers Championship is for 16 to 25-year-old drivers that have never won the Challengers class, been top 5 in the Clio Cup Europe standings, or won more than 2 races since 2020, so almost like a Pro-Am silver kind of setup. And then the Racers Cup is those with less than 10 meetings anywhere as a driver and have never finished top 5 in a Clio Cup race. So you see the cars on their formation lap. Let's run you through the grid. It is David Pouget on pole position for this one. He will line up alongside Alexandre Finkelstein in the 29 car. Then it will be Alexandre Alboui and Mathieu Lanapudens in the second row. Florian Venturi, good qualifying from him in the 158 car. He lines up alongside Nicolas Mélin. Florian Karubel is next. Jordi Palomeras in row 4 as well. Aurélien René and Jeremy Bordegaray rounding out your top 10 of the order. Alejandro Schimpf in 11th alongside brother Adrian. Sergio Casalins in 13th. Guillaume Maillot in 14th position. Fabien Julia in 15th place. 16th position is Léonard Vigier. Michael Carré in 17th. Cédric Delcroix in 18th. Laurent Zius in 19th, and Javier Ciusadens rounding out our top 20 for this one. You see there, this track map, 3.6 kilometers, just over 2 miles, or 2.2 miles, I should say, of circuit here at Nogaro, a circuit with plenty of technical sections, and that long back straight down towards turn 7 is the primary overtaking opportunity. The corner that the last of the cars has just gone through, turn 7, is the primary overtaking opportunity. Now, I was speaking to Nicolas Mélin yesterday, and he said to me, you know, this is not a circuit where overtaking is easy. He said that as a front row starter. He is now on the 3rd row of the grid for today's race, so he is going to have to hope that his own summary of this circuit is false, because he needs to make up some positions to score strong points here. He is the defending French champion here in Clio Cup. Speaking of the 2 categories, the Clio Cup España, it is actually Mathieu Lanapudens. Even though he is a French national driver, he is in the Spanish category, and he is our pole sitter within the Spanish Championship element of this race. So Clio Cup France, Clio Cup Spain, kicking off the overall 2023 Renault Clio Cup Series. The cars lining up on the grid now to get started. It is on your left of picture David Pouget on the right of your picture, Alexandra Finkelstein starting this race off. Will it be young Finkelstein that can get the best start from the inside of the front row? Of course, the more rubbered line is David Pouget's outside line, and you can see that his car is angled very defensively. He intends to cut straight across the circuit and stifle Alexandra Finkelstein if he possibly can. He's got to worry about Alexandra Alboui behind him as well. The lights are about to go out, and we are racing for 25 minutes plus 1 lap, and it's a good start from our pole sitter. David Pouget leads into the first corner then, as the rest of the field all try and find their space. Hopefully everyone can get through the first couple of turns cleanly. Nicolas Millar trying to get up the inside there of, I believe, Alexandra Alboui, one of the other Millar competition Castrol cars. A little bit sideways at turn 1. I think that could have been the number 23 car of Jordi Palomeras. A little bit of gravel being kicked up as well, but no cars in the walls on the first few corners. Florian Venturi up there in 4th position. He's got Nicolas Millar behind him, so Millar has moved up a position or 2 there in the early going, or at least 1 position at least. But David Pouget already with a good 2 or 3 car lengths, if not more, clear as they run past the airfield here at Nogaro for the first time, down to the heavy braking at turn 7. David Pouget locking up, I believe, the rear tyre there. There's a couple of the Castrol cars from Millar competition. You see Alejandro Schimpf there in shot as well. Alejandro in the 113 car will be chasing his brother. Oh, Jordi Palomeras, I think, got a little bit of a tag from behind there, and that sent him into the gravel trap. It looked like someone else may have been going off there as well. There's the 25 car up the inside. That's Alexandra Alboui getting back past Florian Venturi. Alboui dropped a couple of positions in the early going, and a hip check there from Florian Kurubel as well. And he's managed to get himself past Florian Venturi for good measure, and it was Jordi Palomeras that went sideways there. And there we saw another moment for Jordi. Now, did someone else go off in the back of shot? Yes, there was someone tagged in the back of shot, and it was Navio in the number 20 car. Oh, that is a big-looking impact there. The number 20 car of Yanmar Navio has met the barriers. We just cut away from the shot as the car started sliding toward the barriers. Safety car has been deployed. I believe Navio already out of the car by the looks of it. But an early safety car then. There was a lot going on in that first lap of the race. There was contact, there was battling, hip checks, loss of door mirrors, I think, again, the most common part in Renault Clio Cup racing to fall foul. But we are under safety car conditions, and that's unfortunate for our leader, David Pouget. He already had sprinted away from the chasing pack in those first few corners, and it looks as though something may have happened there on the back straight while we're under safety car. You can see the 18 car sporting some damage. That's Cedric Delcroix. And the 79 car looked like it had strayed off circuit, and that is Javier Siu-Kendez. And now he was behind Cedric Delcroix when they went through the first sector. So I wonder if those two made contact while slowing up for the safety car. It looks to me as though Cedric Delcroix has stopped there on the outside of turn 7. We saw the damage to his car. Here's a replay of Jordi Palomeras having a moment. And then in the back of shot, there's the number 20 car being sent for a spin. Now, who was it that tagged the number 20? It was a 66 car. That is Alejandro Romero. So 2 cars from different championships, I believe that is, because Romero is a Spanish Clio Cup racer, and Navio is only scoring points in the French championship. So unfortunately, 2 drivers who have little to do with each other in terms of championship points, but they have cost each other out on the circuit there. So quite a messy opening lap by Clio Cup standards. The Sunday race here yesterday was a little bit tranquil. There was a good scrap in the early going between David Pouget and Nicolas Millar, but overall there was a little bit of a placid feel to the race. Doesn't seem as though we're going to have any of those issues on Monday, though, because already we've got Clios strewn across the French countryside. We've got another replay there of Cédric Delcroix confirming that he did indeed peel off the circuit at turn 7. Clearly his car damaged beyond continuing, at least per his analysis. Safety car in this lap, says the timing screen and your graphics. So only a momentary pause in the action. They are pretty swift about collecting their cars here at the circuit Paul Armagnac. I was watching some of the FFSA championships, the French championships, from the spectator banks yesterday, and they can get cars out of the gravel here remarkably quickly, and I think that's probably because of a lot of practice, let's say. This is a little circuit that, if any driver is even slightly over-ambitious, can result in the marshals having some work to do. So the Renault Megane safety car has taken off, and the little Clios will now set about going back to racing. Now, David Pouget, a driver with so much experience in these Renaults, he will know how to get the best of a restart. Can he build himself a couple of car lengths worth of advantage even before he goes past the start-finish line? Wait for him to pull the pin. I think he's going to do so now. He does indeed. We're back to racing speeds then. It is Pouget from Lanpoudin, from Finkelstein, from Nicolas Milan. So Nicolas Milan up there in 4th position, already podium hunting in this early juncture of the race. The first cars go through the first 2 corners once again. 6 corners all compacted into a very small area in the first section of this lap. I'm sure drivers are going to be a little more careful about using some of the outside curbs and runoff areas in this race. We saw a lot of time penalties for track limits in the previous race. Of course, David Pouget, the most notable victim of them. Florian Karubel there trying to find a way past Florian Venturi. Cédric Delcroix has returned his car to the pit lane, so they're going to try and get him out there, but he's already lost over a lap. So perhaps just a point-scoring exercise now for Cédric Delcroix. Meanwhile, side by side, Nicolas Milan trying to find a way around the outside of that 29 car of Alexandre Finkelstein. Finkelstein, who is second in the challengers order at the moment, behind Lanpoudin, who is having a much better race today. Ahead even of his team boss, Nicolas Milan, who sits there in 4th position. The cars cycle through past the old pit lane and towards turns 13 and 14 of this 2.2 mile circuit, 3.6 kilometers. So Nicolas Milan, who started in 6th place, he's up to 4th. Have we had any other movers in this lap? Well, Florian Venturi managed to get past Florian Karubel. So actually, Venturi started the lap in 7th and moved his way up to 6th position. Jeremy Bordegaray has made up some places as well. Jeremy in the 31 car. He is leading the Racers' Cup, the kind of de facto AM category, if you will. And he is 8th overall, so a really good run from him so far. Fabien Julia has made up some positions, started in 15th, running in 13th. He's quite possibly our most local driver, living just 20 kilometers from the circuit. Pouget setting the pace then with that fastest lap of 1:43.239. The cars head towards turn 7. You see there, Jeremy Bordegaray trying to find a way through. He was looking up the inside of Florian Karubel, but it looks as though nobody has made a move on this lap. So far, at least at the sharp end. Now, we saw last time in yesterday's race that David Pouget managed to build a gap over Nicolas Milan. He was the better part of 2 seconds clear at the end of the race. However, that 5-second penalty he got for track limits, of course, dropped him down to P3. So we'll see whether he can once again just control this race, build a gap and get away from the chasing pack. For Lanpoudin, it's obviously important that he stays there in second place, particularly since he and Alexander Finkelstein are fighting for the Challengers class right now. However, I think the top of his priorities for now will be keeping David Pouget in his sights, retaining the use of that slipstream on the run down to turn 7. Looks as though Cedric Delcroix is going to have to abandon this race. Looks over his car. A lot of these Clio Cup drivers can be found under the bonnet between sessions, working on their own vehicle. So it's even more bitterly disappointing when your car ends up damaged. Some of the cars fanning out on this long back straight. Interestingly, David Pouget not feeling the need to go defensive. Of course, if you go defensive and you compromise your run through the corner when you don't need to, that can do a lot more harm than good. And I think that's exactly the basis that David Pouget is running on there. Of course, I talk about the battle between Lanpoudin and Alexander Finkelstein being for Challengers honours, but they're within the Challengers class of two separate championships, because Lanpoudin is scoring points in the Clio Cup Spain and Finkelstein is scoring points in Clio Cup France. A reminder, two championships running simultaneously here in this Clio Cup Series event, as is always the case. There's always a couple of different points tables being updated at any given Clio Cup Series event. Of course, the opening round of Clio Cup Europe is in 2 weeks' time at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Nicolas Mellin looks like he's applying pressure to Alexander Finkelstein now. Mellin, who took his first win of the Clio season at the very first opportunity, 15-time Clio champion, has been the reigning French Renault Clio Cup champion since the end of 2020. He took the title in 2020, 2021 and 2022, and he's taken third position. He's made use of the slipstream on that long run between turn 6 and turn 7, and he's moved his way up to third place. Definitive move there up against Alexander Finkelstein. Now Mellin will be hoping that he can close back in to the two cars ahead of him, because you note 2 or 3 car lengths has now been put between himself and Lanpoudin's just ahead of him, and he will want to stay within slipstream. Oh no, we've just had a bulletin on the timing screen. Car 15, that's David Pouget, 10-second penalty for incorrect position in the grid box. That's now been confirmed on your screen as well. Oh, David Pouget cannot catch a break this weekend. We saw that he was angled slightly differently from the rest of the order in his grid box. It turns out that he was not just at a different angle, he was at an incorrect angle. And that means that our race leader is going to receive a 10-second penalty at the end of this race. So for the second consecutive race, David Pouget is in the lead, but that's not where he's going to finish. Even if he does hold on to the position on track, he's going to have 10 seconds applied to his penalty, to his time at the end of this race. And at the moment, that would drop him out of the top 15. He will certainly not be down in 15th by the end of this. But here's a little look at what we're talking about. You see there the car on the left of screen, David Pouget on the front row of the grid. He's facing inward to try and cover off the other front row starter, Alexander Finkelstein. And that has cost him incredibly dearly. I do feel for David Pouget. We spoke in the paddock shortly before this race started, and he said, you know, I just want to keep my nose clean. It was here at turn 12 where so many of the track limits penalties were being notched up, and he said, I'm just going to keep myself within the white lines. I'm going to be careful. I'm going to try and claim the win I should have had on Sunday, on this Easter Monday. And well, unfortunately for him, a 10-second penalty is almost certainly going to stifle any chance of a race win. It's going to take something extraordinary for him to even finish in the top 5. Not the start to his campaign that David Pouget would have wanted. He's scoring points in the French Clio Cup standings this weekend, the Clio Cup France standings. And Nicolas Millin, as it stands, is going to be quite comfortably the early leader in that championship. I got the impression there that not everyone wanted to be in camera in that last shot. Of course, this is now working very nicely for Mathieu Lanépoudenx, because he still has the slipstream of David Pouget to tow him along the straights. Now, what are we getting a replay of here? This is Palmeiras trying to get his way back through the order, getting past Sergio Casalins down at turn 11. Well-executed move there up against Sergio, who drove in the Spanish Touring Car Championship last year, as Florian Caruble gets a little bit sideways, facing pressure from the 31 car, Jeremy Bordegaray, who continues to lead in the Racers Cup classification. You see the orange R on the back of his rear window denoting that, and his closest competition in that class is Fabien Julia down in 13th, so he's comfortably leading his class. No spec differences between the cars, of course. It's just denoting the different experience levels or performance levels of drivers. Jeremy Bordegaray really showing out this weekend in Clio Cup France and indeed Clio Cup Spain. He's scoring points in both championships. So the 15 car continues to lead the way, but it's effectively an invisible car. David Pouget with a 10-second penalty for incorrect grid box positioning, and that means that we could have a move for the actual race lead this time, because Nicolas Millin is closing in on the 111 car of Mathieu Lanépoudenx. Is he going to be close enough for a move into turn 7? Not quite. I believe that if David Pouget wasn't there ahead of the 111 car punching a hole through the air, Nicolas Millin could have had an overtake on there. In a certain respect, Lanépoudenx is in a good position here, because I hope he knows that he is the race leader post-time penalty being applied. But he's still got the tow from David Pouget. He's still able to follow the wheel tracks of one of the best Clio Cup racers there has ever been, in the form of David Pouget. So he's almost got like a pacer in a running race, helping him along in the form of David Pouget. Of course, that's not the role that David wants, but courtesy of that 10-second penalty, that's exactly the role he's playing. Finkelstein in 4th place under some pressure from Alexandre Albuy as well. Certainly this race number 2 of the weekend in Clio Cup Spain and Clio Cup France has been entertaining. Of course, it's 2 more weeks before some of these teams head to Monza for the Clio Cup Europe season opener. So maybe some of the gloves have been cast aside, the gloves off. The racing gets more intense on the second day of action. 6 minutes and 20 seconds plus 1 lap left to go here. Lots of investigations being noted after the race. Cars 79 and 13 being investigated after the race at Cuadrado and Ciuciuendes. Well back in 21st, 22nd place. I don't think we've seen that incident, but quite a few incidents being investigated after the race. Not many penalties being dished out mid-race this time. I think everyone has received the message regarding track limits after yesterday's race, where I think something like a quarter of the grid seemed to have a penalty by the end in relation to track limits. The 25 car of Alexandra Alboui certainly looking racy. Behind Alexandra Finkelstein and Florian Venturi, leading a big pack of cars there in 6th position. Venturi, a former front runner in the French Formula 4 Championship, secured 3rd place back in 2017 in that championship, also raced in Euro NASCAR. Has done a good few laps of Nogaro over the course of his career and is getting quicker and quicker in Renault Clio Cup machinery as he becomes more experienced. That de facto battle for the lead between the 2nd and 3rd place cars on the road, Lannépoudin and Nicolas Millar, continues to intensify. A reminder that they're scoring points in separate championships. Even though Lannépoudin is a French driver, he's scoring points in the Spanish Championship, whereas Nicolas Millar is scoring points in the European Series from next time out at Monza. Of course, this round not counting towards Clio Cup Europe points. But oh, sounded like someone had a moment there in the back of shot. We heard the incident, we see the incident, and that was Florian Venturi, I believe. Just in the back of shot, we saw there a car facing the wrong way at turn 7. I think Florian Venturi just spun out. Yes, he did. He hasn't come through the 2nd sector. Well, we heard that in the background after we followed the first few cars past. And it was Florian Venturi receiving or having a spin. And I think he might have had some help there from Florian Carouble by the looks of it. But the 158 car of Florian Venturi, unfortunately, in a spin, and it's already come up on the timing screen that the incident between Florian Carouble and Florian Venturi will be investigated after the race. So just a few corners after the incident, the race control noting that, yes, we've seen it, yes, we'll look into it. I think they're going to be quite busy after the race here in Clio Cup. And unfortunately, Florian Carouble with damage by the looks of it. He's back into the pit lane. Certainly that car looking well weathered. Nicolas Millar will try once again to make a move for 2nd place here. Again, he will be leading the French Championship order because of David Pouget's penalty. Lannépoudin scoring points in the Spanish Championship only, but Nicolas Millar will be keen to get the win in this overarching race, as it were. At the end of the day, there will be an overall podium. And because of David Pouget's penalty, he who finishes 2nd across the line will be on the top step of the podium. In 2 minutes and 15 seconds plus 1 lap, David Pouget with 1 second's worth of lead over Lannépoudin in 2nd place, and Nicolas Millar just behind him. But a 10-second penalty for being out of position in his grid slot at the start of the race is going to drop him well down the order. At the moment, I believe he would finish in 10th position once his penalty is taken into account. He may well just about be within the top 10, but obviously our race leader Pouget will be deeply unsatisfied with how this weekend has panned out. You get the feeling that Nicolas Millar has a couple of tricks still up his sleeve that he's yet to procure in this race. Has he shown us his full hand? Certainly in qualifying, he was most disappointed. He said, while the tyres were fresh, I didn't get a clean lap in. Lots of traffic, just 2.2 miles for 31 cars to find a space in qualifying. And Nicolas Millar starting down in 6th place. Did not execute qualifying as he would have liked. No move made this time into turn 7. David Pouget throwing up a smoke screen, as he often does. I believe that smoke comes from his rear tyre rather than his front tyre. I think just bouncing while under rotating up in the air. You see these cars, of course, kind of tripoding, three-wheeling through the corners and under braking. Nicolas Millat just hopping the curb there at turn 12. 20 seconds plus 1 lap left to go, so we're going to start the penultimate lap now. You see there that this is noted as the battle for second position, but of course, because of David Pouget's penalty, it is the battle for the lead between Millat and Lampoudet ahead of him. Battle for 4th place also effectively becomes the battle for 3rd position once you discount David Pouget. And it is Alexandra Finkelstein who is controlling that situation at the moment over Alexandre Alboui. I think Alboui will be a bit disappointed with his weekend. He started on the front row yesterday, but didn't convert that into what he would have liked. Did ultimately finish in 2nd place, but of course it was 3rd on the road. And oftentimes these racing drivers like their results to happen on the road rather than in the post-race debrief. Of course, Nicolas Millat is defending his French championship here this weekend and this year. Last year's French champion Alex Royo is not here, or sorry, last year's Spanish champion Alex Royo is not here to defend his title this year, so the likes of Mathieu Lanépoudenx could be setting themselves up for a Spanish title run here with a good result today. Also not here are European champion from last year Anthony Girardo. He will join us at Monza in a fortnight's time in the Milan competition stable. Nicolas telling me all about his driving style, saying that Anthony Girardo, one of the more spectacular drivers he's seen in a Clio Cup machine, and when you get that kind of compliment from Nicolas Millat, stands to reason that he's talking sense. It's the final lap of the race then, and the 15 car of David Pouget is at least on track, our race leader. However, if you are just joining us now, he received a 10-second penalty for being out of position on the starting grid. He was just slightly out of his box. So a 10-second penalty means that battle you see for 2nd place is the battle for the lead between Mathieu Lanépoudenx in the 111 car, Nicolas Millat following him. Can Millat make a move here down towards turn 7 for the final time? This is the overtaking opportunity at this circuit. Millat won't take any undue risks at this early stage of the season. And sure enough, no wild lunge is made by the team boss of Milan competition. Nicolas Millat is a champion 15 times over in Clio machinery over the years. Not for making rash decisions, but for being calculating and consistent. The first race at this Nogaro circuit in 1999, so he knows the trouble spots at this circuit. So David Pouget coming around the final 2 corners. He's going to win, at least on the roads. However, because of that penalty, it's going to be Mathieu Lanépoudenx who takes the win. He'll come across the line now. Mathieu Lanépoudenx crosses the line to win the race, ultimately in the 111 car, ahead of Nicolas Millat in the number 5 car. Alexandra Finkelstein and Alexandre Alboui cross the line in 4th and 5th place, which will be 3rd and 4th when all things are taken into account regarding David Pouget's penalty. We also have 6th place finisher, top 5 finish therefore for Jeremy Bordegaray in the 31 car, so 5th overall once the penalty is applied to David Pouget. And also the win in the Racers' Cup, so a great weekend for Jeremy Bordegaray, who started this race in 10th, has moved his way up to 6th on the road and 5th in the final classifications. Aurélien René in 7th place, 6th place. In fact, no, he will finish in 7th place. David Pouget will be classified in 6th position once the penalty is applied. Now, you see their winner of race 2, David Pouget, but that is because we haven't had the penalty update on our screen just yet. However, once the penalty is applied, David Pouget will finish in 6th place, unfortunately. So 7th place will be Aurélien René. Alejandro Schimpf beating brother Adrian to 8th place. So Schimpf in 8th and Schimpf in 9. Adrian in 9th place. Guillaume Mayo in 10th position. Fabien Julia makes his way up to 11th place. He wanted a top 10 from today. He finishes 11th ahead of Mikhail Carré, Lino Vigier, Laurent Ziadus and Jordi Palomeras. That rounds out our top 15. Florian Venturi did finish the race after his late issues. Finishes in 16th place ahead of Sergio Casalins in 17th. Samuel Chalin in 18th. Alejandro Romero in 19th. Rafael Cuadrado in 20th position. Vinish Schunke in 21st. Gael Rostar in 22nd. Joaquin Rodrigo in 23rd. Javier Ciusuendes in 24th. Lydia Sempeli in 25th. Florian Carouble did not finish the race, of course, first of the non-finishers after withdrawing to pit lane towards the end of the race after that contact with Florian Venturi. Well, the timing screen still lists David Pouget as our race winner. However, he was due to receive a 10-second penalty. And this picture rather confirms it. The 111 car pulls up in front of the P1 spot under the podium. So they've simply not updated the timing yet, but David Pouget will ultimately be classified in 10th place, in 6th place as expected because of that 10-second penalty. Great racing then once again from the Clio Cup Series here at Nogaro. Today's race with a few more incidents than the Sunday race. And this man, Matteo Lanipoudin, takes the victory and receives congratulations from his team boss, Nicolas Millar, who says, face the camera, my friend. There are sponsors on your race suit that need to be in front of camera. Well, Matteo certainly happy with his day's work. Nicolas Millar will be happy with the points he has scored. He will be the top scoring driver in the French championship because Lanipoudin is a Spanish championship point scorer here. So Nicolas Millar will certainly be happy with the points he has scored. He will come out of this weekend with an early lead in the Clio Cup France order. So Milan competition in first and second place. They'll be happy with that. One man who won't be happy is, well, our pole sitter, David Pouget. As the race got started, Pouget would line up on the grid in a slightly askew manner. And we see there, he's just facing slightly out of his box. And that was enough for the stewards to decide he deserved a 10-second penalty. He led in the early going, but the 10-second penalty would ultimately drop him down to 6th position, which has now been reflected on our timing screens as well. Early battling further back in the pack as Nicolas Millar tried to find his way through, got up the inside at turn 2, and immediately moved himself up into 5th place at the expense of Alexandre Alboui. Florian Venturi was up in the top 5 at the early stages of the race. Unfortunately, he wouldn't stay there for the duration. First lap carnage, though, for the likes of Jordi Palomeras, who went off. And we also had a big contact for Navio as well in the number 20 car. He got out of the car okay. But certainly A big impact for him. Safety car was necessitated. And the race resumed with David Pouget still assumed as our race leader. However, just a couple of minutes after this safety car period ended, we found out that there was a 10-second penalty hanging over his head, and that would mean that the man behind him, the 111 Lanne Poudenx, would be our race leader. Alexander Finkelstein there in third place at this moment. However, he had Nicolas Mellard on his tail, and Mellard meant business, as he so often does. You see the door mirrors, the regular casualties of Clio Cup racing, and Florian Geruble would end up with a lot more damage later on in the race. Here's Nicolas Mellard making his move on Finkelstein. Aggressively done by Nicolas Mellard. Dive to the inside gave Finkelstein absolutely no hope of defending that one. David Pouget continued on at the front of the order, tried in vain to build his gap. Sadly for him, 6th place is what the record books will show as his finishing result in today's race. The story of the race from here was very much one of Nicolas Mellard trying to find a way past Lanne Poudenx. Although for Nicolas it wasn't critical. Lanne Poudenx scores points in the Spanish Championship. Nicolas Mellard scores points in the French Championship. And it was with that mentality that he stayed just behind the 111 car, followed him home. Mathieu Lanne Poudenx will go down in the record books as the winner of this race after David Pouget's penalty. The 111 car claims a win for Milan competition. And it's a Milan competition 1-2 with the team boss in 2nd place. So certainly an exciting race that was. Of course, Lanne Poudenx also scores the win in challenges, courtesy of the results we have just seen. Jeremy Bordegaray taking 5th overall and also claiming the win within the Racers' Cup. Finkelstein behind the top 2 there for GPA Racing. Alexandre Alboui ahead of the aforementioned Bordegaray. David Pouget ultimately down in 6th place ahead of Aurélien René. Alejandro Schimpf in 8th position. 9th place for his brother Adrian Schimpf. They'll both score good points in the Spanish Championship. Guillaume Maillot in 10th place. Fabien Julia, the local boy, in 11th place. And continuing to roll down the order there, of course, we saw Florian Venturi well down the order after contact in the late stages of the race with the number 2 car, Florian Geruble, who unfortunately had to see the race finish from the pit wall. He ended up classified 4 laps down. Lots of drama in that second race. You heard me mention it during the race. There was a lot of investigations post-race. But for now, we bid you farewell. Thank you so much for tuning in. And congratulations once again to Milan Competition and Mathieu Lanne Poudenx.